With the WWE contract status of a huge star revealed and more, this is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. With CM Punk set to appear on NXT for the show's debut on the CW on October 2nd in All-State Arena in Chicago, Illinois, and Randy Orton appearing on the brand for the following week in St. Louis, Shawn Michaels said this about main roster talent appearing on the show following the change in networks, telling WGN Radio, "We're going to stack this card, obviously, to make it unbelievably exciting. Clearly, you can't come to Chicago without having its favorite son, its hometown guy, CM Punk," Michaels said. So Punk is going to be there, and I have no doubt, nothing is confirmed at this time, but I have no doubt we will have other main roster, Raw, and SmackDown stars blessing our presence there. Talking about Dominic Mysterio and the success that he has had in WWE, The Undertaker said this about the former SmackDown general manager and widow of Eddie Guerrero, Vicky Guerrero, returning to the promotion potentially, noting on his 6 Feet Under podcast, "It's hard to be a heel in this day and age, but Dominic's doing a great job. He can't even talk from a mic. It's like Vicky. I wish Vicky could come back. If Vicky and Dom together with Liv, my goodness." Going over the tension between Ronda Rousey and Vince McMahon, Ringside News wrote that during an interview with Chris Van Vliet, Rousey shed light on why her highly anticipated match with Becky Lynch never took place at WrestleMania, placing the blame squarely on Vince McMahon. When asked about the situation, Rousey didn't hold back in a response. Chris Van Vliet said, "Why couldn't the Becky match happen at WrestleMania?" Ronda Rousey responded, "Because Vince is an 80-year-old a-hole." Van Vliet then noted, "So there's no love lost here with Vince McMahon." Rousey responded, "No, Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, Bruce Pritchard, they can all suck a dick." Rousey also addressed her feelings about McMahon's views on her in-ring performances. She admitted that she wasn't concerned with McMahon's opinions and focused instead on putting on great matches. She described her experience in WWE as a constant battle against obstacles, likening it to traversing the dead marshes from Lord of the Rings. Despite these challenges, Rousey found joy in the moments she spent in the ring, often disregarding backstage politics and poor planning. "I didn't give a about that. I didn't really give a damn what Vince thought, to be honest. I just wanted to have a great match. Sometimes I felt like instead of enabling us to have a great match, we were fighting against him in order to have a great match," Rousey said. "Once I was in there and in the moment and lost in it, there's no better feeling than when you're in it and you believe the story and you're out there with your friends and you're having a blast." Rousey also expressed her frustration with WWE's lack of communication and planning, noting how difficult it was to get any information in advance. After her matches, she often felt disillusioned with the lack of direction and chose to focus on her family and other pursuits outside of wrestling. Then we come back, and then I come back to the curtain. I'm like, "F you, I'm going to my baby. I don't want to hear unless you actually have a plan for next week," which you don't. You don't have a plan. I'm trying to get any information all week long, and then no one's going to tell me until I get to the arena, and I'm still not going to hear anything for hours. And they're like, "So when are you coming back?" "I'm going to go write a graphic novel. Come talk to me later. I need a break." At the premiere event for the film Crow, Liv Morgan could be seen posing for pictures with her world title. explaining that his band Fozzy will be performing at AEW All-In at Wembley Stadium in London. Chris Jericho, who is set to face Hook at the event, told the Daily Star, "Last year, I did them both, wrestling and performing, at the same time when I played myself to the ring. We're going to do that again this year as well. It's live energy. Anytime you do something live, there is a certain magic to it. Jericho the wrestler is different from Jericho on stage. It is interesting to do them both within the same 20 minutes like we did last year and like we're going to do this year. That's why I don't do it too often, because there is a little bit of a switch that you have to have. It's worth it to say we've played Wembley Stadium twice. It's a combined 5 minutes. 5 minutes at Wembley. I think any rock and roll band ever would take that. Obviously, you want to do a whole set, but if you're not Queen or Taylor Swift, I bet you anyone would take 5 minutes. We got to do that. It's a great honor for us." In that same interview, Chris Jericho noted this regarding plans following his eventual retirement from pro wrestling. As he said, "We discussed Fozzy, and I still enjoy the live experience of touring with the band. Recently, I've been getting more acting offers, which is something I've always wanted to do. It seems like these opportunities are becoming more frequent. I might focus more on acting or explore other roles within AEW, such as backstage work or commentating. I previously gave up commentating on Rampage because I felt that my character, the Learning Tree, wouldn't be suitable for it. I handed over that role to Daddy Magic, who gained recognition through working with me. There are many possibilities for me outside the ring. While I might stop being physically active in the ring, I don't think I'd ever fully leave the wrestling business. There are numerous ways to stay involved and have a significant career outside the ring, almost as impactful as my in-ring career." Also, Chris Jericho was asked about criticism that he receives due to his current gimmick, with him telling the Daily Star, "I just don't care, Adam. Things go in phases. Like 3 years ago, those same people chanting, 'Please retire,' were saying Jericho was the greatest of his generation. You know, Kenny versus Jericho at the Tokyo Dome was hailed as the match that changed the course of history, and everyone was talking about how great it was. So I think the biggest thing is that I've been around for so long, working on top and never getting hurt. So I'm always here. It's not like I force myself onto the shows because my ego can't handle not being on them. I work for my boss, who puts me on TV because it draws ratings. There's this whole thing where Jericho has go-away heat and that ratings go down, but that's not true. Look at the ratings every week. I mean, not every week, but I'd say 80% of the time, my segment goes up. It's one of the biggest gainers on the show. A lot of people refuse to believe anything else because of a few critics, and then those critics have their fans, creating a narrative. But the facts are, I'm still one of the most valuable characters on the show for many different reasons. If I told Tony Khan I wanted to take 6 months off, he'd say, 'Are you kidding me? There's no way.'" Jericho said this specifically in regards to fans wanting him to retire. Sting at 64 retired, and everybody is different. To me, when the "please retire" chants were going, I was laughing because I have zero intentions of that. I've got a six-pack. I can do a moonsault, and I know exactly what I'm doing in the ring. I know how to write storylines. I like the company I work for. I like my boss. I like the guys and girls in the company. Why would I want to retire? What's the point because someone told me to? F off. I remember the Rolling Stones in '89 when they did the Steel Wheels tour. They were calling it the Steel Wheelchair Tour. The Stones are too old. The Stones should retire. I just saw the Stones 2 months ago and they were amazing. They didn't care. You retire when you know it's time and you know it's right. It's not the right time right now. Until that moment where I feel this needs to stop, I have no intentions of retiring. There is no time limit. It could be this week. It could be 5 years from now. I don't know. I just know that as of this moment, I'm having a great time. I love going to work. I love contributing. There is no reason to stop doing that. In a clip, Hulk Hogan can be heard in front of fans at a promotional event for his Real American Beer, where he said this.
"You want to get crazy? You want me to throw more beers out? You want me to body slam somebody? You want me to body slam Kamala Harris? I said, do you want me to body slam Kamala Harris? You want me to drop the leg on Kamala? Is Kamala a chameleon? she Indian? Okay, I like it. How? I'm gonna get heat for that one, brother. That was not me, that was the beers talking.
Ex-WWE star AJ Francis replied to this clip on X, writing, "It is consistently so embarrassing as a black man and a wrestler when people ask me who my favorite wrestler was when I started watching wrestling as a kid, and I have to admit it was Hulk Hogan." Recapping a previous situation with an influencer claiming she was fired from her role from Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer due to her race, Ringside News noted that WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan, whose legacy has been marred by previous controversies and allegations of racism, is now confronting new accusations that could further damage his reputation. Influencer Essence Janae has alleged that Hogan dismissed her as an ambassador for his Real American Beer because of her race, and now Janae has revealed how her deal was canceled mere hours after meeting Hogan. Janae alleged that Hogan hired her as an ambassador only to dismiss her the next day upon discovering she is black. She took to social media to share her experience, uploading photos and detailing her sudden dismissal. Janae claimed that her contract with Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer was intended to last a week. However, after promoting the brand for only one day on July 2nd, Hogan allegedly terminated her contract. The next day, Janae was replaced by white ambassadors. She also shared a text message from Hogan's team that suggested Hogan wanted to cancel the events entirely. Janae disputed this, pointing out that Hogan went ahead with the events using the new ambassadors. While speaking to Unscripted, Janae explained that she was asked for permission to share her Instagram ID with Hulk Hogan's team. She described the release process as very interesting. During the event, she had great interactions with Real American Beer, with Hogan arriving later. The team loved her, complimented her, and they exchanged contact information. They also posted her content on their Instagram. After the event, they gave her a hug and said goodbye, indicating they would see her the next day. After her event ended at 5 p.m., she received a call from her agency within an hour. Her agent asked how the event went, and Janae mentioned that they loved her. Her agent then asked if she had any pictures. Janae explained that she didn't have a phone during the event, but sent a selfie with Hogan. The agent responded positively and asked if they could share her Instagram with Hogan. Janae found it odd since she had already shared her Instagram with Hogan. She was then asked if she could send her Instagram to Hogan's team. Janae approved, saying it was fine to share her Instagram. However, within 2 hours, she received a text message from her agency, not even a professional email. The message said she did great, but unfortunately, the client wanted to cancel. The release process was very interesting. Throughout the event, I had great interactions with Real American Beer. Hulk Hogan didn't arrive until later on into the event, so throughout the event, they loved me, complimented me, we exchanged contact information, they posted my content on their Instagram. Even after the event was over, they gave me a hug and said, "Bye, we'll see you tomorrow." So after my event, which ended at 5, within an hour, I get a call from my agency. My agent asked me how the event went, and I went. They loved me. He's like, "Okay, cool. Did you get pictures?" I'm like, "I didn't have a phone throughout the event, but I do have a selfie with Hulk Hogan," and sent that to him. Instantly got an amazing response, and I'm like, "Wow, you look, do you mind if I share your Instagram with him?" I thought that was very odd because I just shared my Instagram with him, Hogan, so why do you need my Instagram? I was asked if I could send my Instagram to Hulk Hogan's team. So of course I approved. Yeah, sure, go look at my Instagram. I don't mind. So within maybe 2 hours after that, that's when I received the message. A text message at that, not even a professional email. A text message from her agency saying, "You did great. I am sure you did nothing wrong, but unfortunately, this client wants to cancel." Throughout the event, I had nothing but great interactions with Real American Beer, and for them to invite me back the next day and mention that the next day we were getting on a yacht, we were going to multiple locations. I just thought that it was very odd that I see them at the event, the same event that I was invited to, on that same yacht that I was invited to be on with other brand ambassadors that look nothing like me. Commenting on the health of Vince McMahon allegedly being in decline, former WCW president Eric Bischoff said this on his 83 Weeks podcast. "Yeah, I caught wind of it. You know, this is such a complicated issue because I have nothing but professional respect and admiration for Vince McMahon in many ways, though not in all ways. You cannot be a fan of what we watch today wherever we watch it and not understand that if it weren't for Vince McMahon's vision back in the 80s, going national, eating up the territories, creating pay-per-view, and building the model that made professional wrestling exist at such a high level, we wouldn't be here today. I'll always respect that. The personal stuff is a different issue, but I kind of feel like I should challenge Vince to a fight right now. Oh gosh, listen, because I know deep down inside he wishes he would have shown up when I challenged him the first time. Vince McMahon is enough of a fighter deep down in his core that probably nothing would heal him as quickly and get him back on his feet at 100% like being challenged to a fight. That guy will go down fighting. Why not give him the inspiration? I'm not going to do it quite yet, but I might, only because I think if there's anything that would make him kick out and make a comeback, it would be something like that." Mentioning the reasons why AEW is facing difficulties, Bully Ray noted on Busted Open Radio, "There is not one metric in AEW that is heading north. They're heading south. One of the biggest hits that AEW took was CM Punk leaving. I believe the two biggest factors in AEW right now are the departure of Cody Rhodes and the departure of CM Punk, tied in with a lot of the other issues the company is having." Recalling the time he punched Vince McMahon following the Montreal Screwjob, Bret Hart said this on the Attitude Era podcast. "The Montreal Screwjob and all the lies and things they did to me, I have so much respect for what I did. If you were in my shoes, after everything that I did for them to do what they did to me, I always hear this crap like I heard Undertaker say they had to do what they were going to do. There was no other option. BS. I had another 6 weeks left on my contract. There were a million things that could have been done. It was a case of liars, cheaters, backstabbers, and guys that made that moment happen. Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Vince McMahon. I wish I knocked them all out. I have no regrets. It was the single greatest thing I ever did. All I'll say is this: Jimmy Snuka came up to me about 3 years after the Montreal Screwjob. He came up to me and shook my hand. He goes, I want to shake the hand of the man that knocked out Vince McMahon. Everybody talked about doing it. He lied and screwed over so many guys. Everybody talked about doing it, but the one guy who did it was you. That's why he shook my hand. I think it says more about my real personality. I was never a hothead or a guy that acted out and went off and punched everybody that I wanted to. If you were in my shoes that day, Vince was calling my bluff. He was going to confront me and wanted me to back down and take the high road. It was a gamble that he made, and he thought he was going to try and get into a little altercation with me. He wanted it to be a pull apart. Everybody pulls us apart, and he can act like he stood his ground against me. In those fleeting seconds of having to think about this, I can't believe Vince McMahon is actually going to confront me. I didn't charge him. We actually walked up to each other and locked up like a wrestling match. Then I knocked him out with one punch, and it was the greatest punch I ever threw. Absolutely beautiful uppercut. I lifted him about a foot off the ground. Broke my hand. It was the sweetest punch I ever threw. I wouldn't change anything about it. Vince McMahon can rot in hell." During that same podcast, Bret Hart revealed who he believes led to the downfall of WCW, saying, "The truth is that in the end, I remember that day when Hogan was trying to change it or cancel it or ruin the whole idea. Eric Bischoff, he doesn't really know what the hell he's doing. He never did, but I remember he could never do anything and told me I had to get everything approved through Hulk Hogan. And that tells me that Hulk Hogan was the boss over Eric Bischoff, and Bischoff was just a front man for Hogan. Between the two of them, they killed WCW. You can put it right on Hogan or Eric Bischoff. They're both accountable." Taking aim at WWE's treatment of women in contrast to AEW, Mercedes Moné said this in her newsletter. There are 3 women's matches at All-In this Sunday. 3, when Mania was one night. How many women's matches were there? Not 3. Moreover, when the guys' matches went too long in WWE, it was the women's matches that got cut for time. Mentioning another lawsuit that Logan Paul's Prime is facing, Ringside News wrote that according to the Boston Globe, Boston-based food importer Agravana is suing Prime Hydration, the energy drink company popularized by controversial internet star Logan Paul, for backing out of a multi-million-dollar contract. The contract was for Prime to purchase coconut water concentrates for its energy drinks and hydration sticks. The lawsuit, filed on August 7th, in Suffolk Superior Court, claims that Prime and its parent company, Congo Brands, failed to pay for shipments of Agravana's coconut powders and engaged in willful misrepresentations to depict the products as unsafe in an attempt to recover earlier payments. The dispute has significantly impacted Agravana, said managing partner Tim Panagopoulos, who noted that Prime was Agravana's largest client by a wide margin. Panagopoulos had expanded agreements with vendors in India to meet Prime's needs. We just couldn't tell whether we would be paid after trying to communicate with them for weeks or months about the quality product they already have, he said. They could care less about what we have to say, what they had already committed to in the contract they were now trying to get out of. Logan Paul was also hit with a lawsuit from a NASCAR driver over trademark infringement. Prime is also facing legal action from the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee and was also slapped with a $68 million lawsuit to boot. When it comes to WWE's interest in AEW star Ricky Starks, Corey Brennan of Fightful Select reported regarding the Ricky Starks rumors going around on social media. NXT sources say that there is significant interest in bringing Starks into the brand once he is available. Addressing the idea of running for president of the United States, The Rock told Trevor Noah, "I'll just share this a little bit with you. At the end of 2022, I got a visit from the parties asking me if I was going to run and if I could run. It was a big deal and came out of the blue. They brought up that poll and their own deep dive, research, and data, which would prove that should I ever decide to go down that road, I would be a real contender. It was all very surreal because that's never been my goal. My goal has never been to be in politics, and in fact, there's a lot about politics that I don't like. I was moved by that, and the reason I gave that response was because that's truly what the people want. Then, of course, I would consider it. After that response, the parties came, but I had to really double down on the idea. I have 3 daughters, 22 years old, 7 years old, and 5 years old. My 22-year-old daughter, Simone, and I essentially grew up together. I know what it's like to be in an occupation that took me away. Being a pro wrestler full-time and wrestling 230 dates a year. I didn't want that for my little ones now. So that was one of my primary discussions with the parties, who ultimately said that others have done it like this. So with the response, I responded in that way. I thought it was important, and I do feel that way, by the way. If that's ultimately what the people want, then of course I would consider it. Revealing his current status with WWE, John Cena said this to Shannon Sharp on Club Shay Shay. "I have such a trustworthy relationship with them. Over 2 decades, I am a champion of the brand. I love the company. It is my home. They are my family. Even after 2025, I've already signed an extension to remain a member of the WWE family for the near, mid, and long-term future. I don't think there will be a beat of my heart where WWE blood doesn't come out of it." And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.